Well, I thought we had a wonderful marriage. Nothing seemed like she was unhappy, or at least she didn't communicate that with me, and she wasn't acting suspicious. We are both 45, very successful people. She owns a daycare, and I own a small car dealership. She has a son, but she gave her son up for adoption many years ago, before I even came into her life. I can't believe that my wife of 15 years did this to us and our marriage. It turns out she was cheating with a long-time employee. I feel like I don't even know her anymore. She's been leading a secret life behind my back this whole time. What I started to notice was that she was becoming distant. I mean, like virtually overnight it seemed. She stopped wanting to have sex with me, and she started working longer hours at her job. She has a daycare center in town, and then I found out she was cheating on me with one of her employees. I never suspected my wife was cheating on me, but I never had any proof. But her behavior is what made me super suspicious. One of the signs was she wouldn't leave her phone unattended, and she never used to put her phone face down when she wasn't using it. One day, I decided to check her email account to see if I could find any evidence. But I found a suspicious email from an old computer of hers. Come to find out, she was cheating on me, and even brought this man into our home. When I discovered my wife's secret life, I was devastated. I couldn't believe that she could be so deceitful and blatantly disrespectful and betray me like that. I felt like a fool for trusting her blindly and not seeing the signs sooner. I decided not to confront her, but I started to keep a closer eye on her. I wanted to see if she would slip up and give herself away and let it pile up. When she stopped sleeping with me, I initially questioned her and asked her what was wrong, and I would ask frequently. A couple of times she got upset with me, but after I found out she was cheating, I didn't ask anymore. After a few weeks of monitoring her behavior, it was evident she wasn't going to leave her phone out in plain sight for me to see, and she took her laptop to her daycare facility and never brought it back home. So I decided to put cameras in our home. I lied to her and told her I was going to visit my buddy I played basketball with in college for a few days, when in reality, I was just going to the next town over to visit my sister. Before I left, I had cameras set up all over our house discreetly without telling her where they were. I had 2 set up in the bedroom, 2 different angles, one in the living room, and one covering the front entrance, plus part of our front yard. On the day of my departure, she made it a point to try to be nice to me, told me she loved me, sort of love bombing, so to speak. I kissed her goodbye and left for my trip. After about 30 minutes of driving toward my sister's, I started getting text messages and pictures from the cameras in our house of her undressing, walking around naked, and even talking to someone on the phone while she was in our bedroom. I was livid. I wanted to confront her about it when I got home, but then I thought better of it. I decided to just act like I never saw anything and let her think she got away with it. When I got to my sister's, she was actually surprised to see me. I didn't tell her I was coming. She asked me why I was at her house with overnight bags. I took out my phone, gave it to her, and pressed the play button from the video cameras I set up in the house. My sister's face turned ghost white, and she couldn't believe what she was seeing. I said, "Yep, my wife is cheating on me, and I think she has been cheating on me for years." My sister was in shock, and she didn't know what to say. I told her I was going to get a divorce and make her regret cheating on me. My sister told me that she would support whatever decision I made, and she would help me in any way she could. I really appreciate my sister's support, and I know I can count on her. Right now, I am just trying to take things one day at a time and figure out what my next move is going to be. I know that I need to stay strong and not let my emotions get the best of me. I need to be able to look at this situation objectively and make the best decision for myself and my future. When my trip was over, I got home at the time my wife was at her daycare facility, so I had time to review the cameras. I took the SD card out, put it in my computer, and started to watch. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. My wife was cheating with her employee in our home again. I guess they said, "The hell with hotels." I was absolutely disgusted and angry at the same time and felt like I had been punched in the gut. The next step for me was to call some divorce attorneys to see what my options were and to start the process of ending my marriage. I was not going to put up with this type of behavior anymore and was not going to allow her to continue to disrespect me in our marriage. We own the house we live in, and she makes almost $120,000 a year. I make double that with my small car dealership, so I am worried about alimony. I don't really care about the house. It's a small 2-bedroom townhome. I can easily replace it. Fast forward 2 weeks, and I am still acting like I don't know she is cheating on me, but I have since made copies of the footage I have and forwarded it to my sister as a safety precaution. In the meantime, I had a consultation with an attorney and talked to him about the laws here in South Carolina regarding at-fault divorces, and he told me that if I could prove she cheated on me, I could probably get away without paying her alimony. But my attorney said she's making 6 figures, so it would be highly unlikely she is going to get alimony. So I am now in the process of compiling the evidence and preparing it for my attorney, who has already filed for divorce on my behalf. I have since moved to the guest bedroom since it's been 2 months since we have been intimate, and I can't even look at her anymore. Another week passes, and I get an angry phone call from my wife. She has just been served divorce papers at her daycare, and she is frantically asking why I am filing for divorce. I calmly told her that I have been meaning to talk to her about this for a while, but I didn't want to do it over the phone, and that I would be home in a few hours, and we could talk then. When I get home, she is still seething with anger, but agrees to sit down and talk with me. I explained to her that I was not happy with how our marriage has been going, and that I think it would be best if we went our separate ways. And then I said, "Oh, by the way, you are cheating on me, and I have the footage to prove it." Her eyes got wide, and her mouth was open like she saw a ghost. She didn't say a word. She just got up and walked away. I sat there for a few minutes trying to process what had just happened. I think it finally hit her that things were really over between us, and she was going to have to face the consequences of her actions. I was relieved that it was finally over, but I also felt kind of bad for her, even though she deserved everything that was coming to her. She had really messed up, and there was no going back from that. It's funny how someone can seem so perfect, but then turn out to be completely different from what you thought. I guess that's just a part of life though. You can't always trust people, and you have to be careful who you let into your heart. At the divorce hearing, my wife did have an attorney, but she didn't say much. Her attorney didn't have much to say. She couldn't refute the footage I had. The judge had the proof of my wife's infidelity, and to my surprise, she really didn't fight for alimony, but we were ordered to sell the house and split the proceeds. After the hearing, it was all over. We were officially divorced. It was a sad day, but it was also a day of relief. I was finally free from someone who I had once thought was my soulmate, but who turned out to be anything but. Fast forward a month, the guy my wife was sleeping with was arrested at her daycare facility. Apparently, he was selling drugs, not out of my ex-wife's facility, but apparently he was buying meth from an informant. He was also married and had 2 teenagers, and his wife was planning to divorce him. I was happy that he was going to get what he deserved, but my ex-wife didn't seem to care. She said that she was done with him and that she wanted nothing to do with him, which I thought was odd, considering she was the one who was sleeping with him and couldn't keep her hands off of him. I guess she finally realized that he was a piece of trash and that she needed to move on. She tried to talk to me and asked, can we start over? I told her there was no chance in hell that was happening. She had ruined everything, and I wanted nothing to do with her. I was done. I had moved on, and I was happy without her. The fact that she wanted to try and start over just shows how selfish she really is. The small town home we had sold for just over $135,000. We split the proceeds, and after that, I changed my number, but I still saw her from time to time around town, and every time I did, it just reminded me of what an idiot I was for ever letting myself fall in love with her. I ended up buying a new home and recently added a new dealership in addition to my first dealership, and I am kind of dating, but I am being very selective in who I date. I will not entertain any of the women I work with. I don't care how hot they are. I am also learning that dating apps are not the way to go. Some of my sales managers are telling me horror stories about these dating apps, but I am happy regardless. Oh, if any of you are listening to this, I am in South Carolina, so if your wife is cheating, I suggest you get some type of proof. It may help you at the divorce hearing. South Carolina isn't at fault